Welcome back to number one reality junkie, where I take my reality TV junk and I just dump it right on you. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to this channel. And you can follow us on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. And guess what? You guys, this new interview with Heather McDonald of Juicy Scoop. We love a Juicy Scoop episode. I love this show, and it's even better when Carlos King comes on. Carlos King and Heather McDonald make magic together. And let me tell you, this interview was nothing but magic. Of course, the reality TV king, self-proclaimed, but I'll give him that title because he is killing the reality TV show game right now. He brought up a few topics and I had to address it with you guys. Now, I know you guys see the thumbnail. Fired by Twitter, Carlos King. Twitter has become the new Bravo executive. And actually, he is correct. So let's get into it real quick, guys. So look, on the Heather McDonald Juicy Scoop show, he actually commented on Lisa Rinna. They opened up the show talking about Lisa Rinna and her getting fired, and he keeps it 100% real. Okay, so it opens up with them talking about Lisa Rinna. And Heather McDonald mentions that she reached out to Lisa Rinna after she heard about her, quote, parting ways, even though we know in the Bravo universe that means she got fired, allegedly. But we know what that means. But nonetheless, she mentions that she reached out to Lisa Rinna and saying, hey, come on, Juicy Scoop. So, by the way, I hope that Lisa Rinna comes on Juicy Scoop. And hey, we can sell all these lip kits. Now, Heather McDonald loves Lisa Rinna's lip kits, so I might just give it a try. I'll let you know if I do or not. But anyway, they start off by having that conversation about how she reached out to her, and Lisa Rinna replied with a bunch of hearts, wheel. But nonetheless, Carlos King, who, for those who are not familiar with Carlos King, he was the producer of Real Housewives of Atlanta for 9 years. He also was the producer in the very beginning of Real Housewives of New Jersey for 2 years. Him and Teresa are like besties. He still communicates with everyone from the casts and things like that. So he has got an ear to the streets when it comes to the housewives world, okay? So when he says something, you best believe he knows the backstory, and more than likely, it's probably factual. And I'm going to say allegedly. But in my mind, he's so in tune with Bravo, and he worked with them for years. He knows the ins and outs, right? So anyway, Carlos King feels like the casting executives are basing their decisions to let go of some of these housewives off of Twitter. Because Lisa had become so unlikable. Lisa Rinna became so unlikable. Let me just tell you, she brings a certain je ne sais quoi to the show. I definitely love Lisa Rinna. However, I didn't even watch the last season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Oh, I know. It was just too much. It was just too much. And, a little bit of drama is one thing, but when it's like engulfed in drama and it's just like, it becomes too much. And I'm an empath, and I begin to feel sorry. I just feel bad. I can't take it. So I had to remove myself from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season, which is shocking because I have loved Beverly Hills since the very first season. Okay. Let me just say that I am an avid Beverly Hills fan, but I just couldn't do it this last season. And a lot of that has to do with Lisa Rinna's antics. But the thing is, Carlos King has made a really good point. Him saying that Twitter has made a lot of the decisions with a lot of the housewives. He goes on to name Tamra Judge. He goes on to name Dorinda. He goes on to name Vicky Gunvalson. And if you guys go back on Twitter, even put in the hashtags of their names, you will go and see a lot of what people were saying. And the execs now we know are paying attention to what is being said on Twitter. Is that scary? It's kind of scary, because then if there's like a mob and they're like, hey, let's go ahead and go after this person, then they potentially can go after someone and they actually lose their job, whether warranted or not. But in other cases like this with Lisa Rinna, it had become too much and the fans just was tired. We were tired. But he brought up an excellent point. And I was like, man, Carlos King, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. They also talked about how when Lisa Rinna came to BravoCon, how she got booed by the audience. And of course, in true Lisa Rinna fashion, she flips them the bird. Now, Carlos King suggests that it's not in your best interest and best benefit to diss the hand that feeds you. And I have to agree with him. The moment that you start seeing the tides turn, knowing that this is a popularity contest, these shows, yes, the Bravo people, they cast them, the Bravo execs, they cast these people, but it is a popularity contest. If we don't like someone, they're going to remove them, Diana Jenkins. Okay? They're going to remove them. So my thing is, if you see the tides are turning and you continue to play into that and feed into that, Lisa Rinna, it's going to potentially have an impact on your job. And look what happened. Now, Carlos King, he hits it with the shade of all shade, okay? And this, as funny as it is, I was like, oof. And then I laughed and I was like, oof. And then I felt bad and I was like, oof. And then I laughed again. Okay, so he says that Lisa Rinna had too much time on her hands and just began to and just started responding to people. It's like, you're Lisa Rinna. You don't have to go and respond to, this person who is just merely making a comment on Instagram or merely making a comment on Twitter. But when you start going into the trenches with people, that's when it starts to become a problem. Then he says, now she's stuck at home helping Harry Hamlin with his lines. Oh, that right there, like I said, had me weak, but then I felt bad. But then I was weak again, but then I felt bad. And because he's right. Lisa Rinna was in a place where this was the longest standing job that she's had in Hollywood. And it's a reality show. She's been on TV for over 30 years, okay? She's not new to this. She's true to this, as they say. She's not a novice in these streets. And so for her, she should know better. And so the fact that now, as Carlos King said, she is stuck at home helping Harry Hamlin with his lines. Oh, I couldn't believe he said that. But then it was like, man, it's true. And then I started thinking about the other housewives. So I was like, well, Tamra Judge. So let's go to Tamra Judge. Tamra wasn't very problematic, but I did get tired of her antics. And so did folks on Twitter. Now, when she first got, fired from Bravo, from Real Housewives of Orange County, she equated to an age thing. Andy Cohen came out and vehemently denied that. He was like, you see that the housewives are like in their 50s and 60s and thriving, so it obviously wasn't an age situation. But we were tired of the same old antics from Tamra Judge. Twitter spoke out and they gave her the boot. Moving on to Vicki Gunvalson, her partner in crime. Now, Vicki was problematic, okay? She made some statements that can be deemed as problematic. I think, with Vicki Gunvalson, she let things get to her head and she became way too big for her britches. At the end of the day, yes, you're the OG of the OC, but everyone is replaceable. And she learned the hard way that she too was replaceable because now, her last bout on the show, on the reunion, she had a complete meltdown on the show. And it was frankly embarrassing to watch because it's like, man, we know that, Vicki has said some weird and problematic things in the past, and I will never excuse those things. But for her to have a pure meltdown the way she did on the show, and then to say the things that she said to Andy Cohen, and then to see how Andy Cohen was just like, he was so annoyed, and so was everyone. And let me tell you, they roasted her on Twitter. They had no choice but to get rid of Vicki Gunvalson. And frankly, Vicki Gunvalson did it to herself. She did that to herself. Unfortunately, with what she did, coupled with what everyone was saying, and just, not liking her antics and, the way that she was acting on that stage, as if everyone should bow down to her because she's the OG of the OC, which I get it. You are the original. You were the only original, left in Orange County from season 1. There was no one else. So you felt like you had that seniority, which is true. But then you can't allow that to get to your head and then think that you can treat people any kind of way, because this is not going to work. And that people are going to hold your feet to the fire. And that's what Twitter does. Twitter will not let up. They will not let up. So the Twitter exec said, hey, it's time to go. And when I say Twitter executives, I mean Bravo fans. Okay, so Bravo fans equals Twitter executives now, because Carlos King has brought it out that, yes, Twitter is a way for the executives to make some decisions when it comes to casting. So, yes, I'm going to say the Twitter execs, which means Bravo fans. Okay? Okay. So the Twitter execs came out, guns blazing. They were roasting Vicky on Twitter, and she was out of there. Now, he brought up also Dorinda, and I have to say her name that way because it just, Dorinda. I don't know. You just got to say it like that. Anyway, Dorinda was problematic. Now, we love Dorinda. We love her. We love her, her drunken moments. But it did become too much, and she became a bully. And especially to Tinsley. Now, I don't want to be like, oh, poor Tinsley, blah, 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 blah. She's a grown woman. She can handle her own. However, it was very, very embarrassing and very cringe-worthy watching the way that Dorinda talked to her, the demeaning thing that she would say to her. And it came across as like a hateration situation. Like, Dorinda was hating on Tinsley. Let it go. But guess what? Twitter didn't let it go. The Twitter exec said, no, wait a minute. Even though we may not love Tinsley was not even a popular, castmate on Real Housewives of New York. She was not that popular on the show. She was a breath of fresh air, and it was a welcome delight, but she wasn't popular like that. Dorinda was way more popular than Tinsley. However, the Twitter execs spoke, and they said, you know what? We can't deal with Dorinda's antics any longer. And this is bullying at its finest. We can't take it anymore off of their head. And guess what? The Twitter execs made a decision. And Bravo executives said, all right, we're going to go ahead and get rid of Dorinda and allegedly put her on pause, which we all know, again, because we're some Bravo fans. We know what that means. You were fired, allegedly. But anyway, it just made me think of all those instances. And I was like, wow, social media, that's the power of social media. Social media is now dictating who keeps their job and who does not. So what do you guys think about that? Number one, did you watch the whole Juicy Scoop episode? If you haven't, please do. And maybe I'll talk about another part, because there was so many good parts of the Juicy Scoop interview with Carlos King, even about, Real Housewives of New Jersey. I think that might be my next little video. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Peace.